Oh, there you are. Social status. Dominance over compassion. Tonight is the night before Valentine's Day, St. Valentine. Little, Eros, you know, guy with little wings and a bow and arrow. And love can be like that. You just kind of get shot. My second wife, I mean, both my wives, the one I met on the subway, and I kind of got shot by her. She was just so cute. And my second wife, who was, she was like, a football field's away. And I was looking at the crowd with binoculars, and I saw her, and she was dressed like Little Red Riding Hood. She had this red silk thing that was unbelievable. Big skirt that kind of shot out, and really low bodice, and a red cape with a hood. And she looked so good in the hood. And she looked right up that binoculars. And I mean, I was up in the ceiling in the dark. No one could see me, but she saw me, and she went like this. And I ran all the way down there. I was there on a shoot, and I had binoculars and a walkie-talkie, and I was telling my crews to go shoot this, go shoot that, because I could see everything. There was the Whole Life Expo. I was in the Penta Hotel, and there she was. We spent 16 hours together. We talked and talked and talked, and then she was there selling supplements. She was a pyramid girl, but she had her own business. She had many businesses. She was one business woman, that's for sure. And we walked. It was just like straight out of Woody Allen's Manhattan. We walked through Manhattan from the Penta over to the east side, down the river, and then over to where her apartment's on, right where Park Avenue started. Anyway, so I thought I was in. Yeah, we were like holding hands and smooching, and then when we got to her front door, I said, maybe, the sun was coming up, maybe I could get a cup of coffee and we could, and she just kind of handed me her business card and said, call me today. She said, call me tomorrow. And then she said, oh, tomorrow is today, so call me later, like around 4. 4 is a good time. Call me at 4. I called her at 4. We talked for about 2 hours. And said, so can we go out now? Tomorrow at 4. And I called her 30 days. On the 30th day, I said, if I don't even just get a cup of coffee, I'm moving on. And the phone rang. It was her. And she goes, so what are you doing now? I said, anything you want me to do. And she says, come on over. So I ran 40 blocks, my abandoned building on the Lower East Side, all the way. The fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against there is no law. Yep, you got it. And for 8 years, that's what, we had for each other, right? We had those fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, right? And she was, a triple Aries. She was like, those horns were out. She was, knocking everybody, but not me. She and I, it was pretty amazing. We lived in this Park Avenue, it was her apartment, right? Yes, for years I paid the rent and the, whatever bills needed to be paid. If she couldn't pay them, I paid them. And, but it was always her place, and that was never a problem. It wasn't like, she gave me one drawer that I could put, and I couldn't, she made me clothes that I went off to work, and I went to my shop, and I took them off and put them in a clothes bag, and then put on, my work clothes, and then went off and worked, and then, This Honorable sending failed. I don't know what that means. You guys can hear me? Am I still live on chat? There's 4 of you. I've seen, Ride put down something really good. Anyway, and the only thing that separated us was death when she died. And then it took a number of years. I mean, I traveled a lot the next year just to get it out of my system. And I had a girlfriend, but she was a girlfriend, right? And she just enjoyed my company, and she didn't want anything. She didn't want to get married or be anything or do anything, right? And then came back to New York, and I kind of tied up all my strings, and I had 2 girlfriends at that time, and they were both women I had known for a long time, and they had known my wife. And each of them took a turn. One was a TV producer I worked with at Potato Wolf, and another one was she was also a TV producer at public television, PBS. And both of them, again, just loved me for me, and didn't want anything, and didn't want to take. They knew that my second wife had like a little part of my heart, and that was fine by them, right? And then I had a girlfriend named Jane Fire, and she was that. She was a punk musician, right? Angie, so everybody, you can hear me? I'm good. I'm coming over 5 by 5. It's 7 minutes of rolling, and there's 4 of you on there. And we're going to talk about love and what Ride said there. The spirit of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such there is no law. And it seems that as one of our cadre mentioned before, I went on show here, and that's where I picked up the title for this show, that people are more concerned these days with their social status, what people think of them, right? And they're more concerned about control than they are about compassion. And that's all the wrong way to look at it. Compassion is the key. Compassion is the direction that we should walk in. Always having compassion for all our relations, for everyone, right? Because when we interact with folk and we view their presence with compassion, then then you don't have to worry about control, because then all that matters is how you can help. Not to fix, right? Not to be the hero, but how to bring forth a good outcome. And that comes from compassion. And that gives you grace, right? So everyone can hear me, right? I'm coming over loud and clear, right? Get tired of talking and no one is there. But it seems like there's 5. It says 5 of you there, and we're not quite into it for 10 minutes, right? So I want to hear your feedback on the concept of social status and control versus compassion, and what Ride said, the fruits of spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. These are all the characteristics that lead to a good life, where you're happy, because what makes you happy is making others happy. Okay, we're at 10 minutes and 19 seconds. So come on, tell me that, am I coming on 5x5? Can you hear me? I a number of times have talked for an hour or two, and no one was there. And I was knocked off, and then it said I came back on. Am I buffering? How's it going? What's going on? I can hear you. Okay, thank you, Sarah Webb. So what do you think, Sarah, of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness? Loud and clear. Thank you, Uncle Fugnuts. Okay, see, that's all I needed. Just a little reinforcement, right? So I can feel easy and footloose and fancy-free to just be your griot. I was, after I did that afternoon chat, which was a very nice chat, a number of folks came on and spoke very dearly towards the concept of love. And I said, the title was, What is Love, right? And what's love got to do with it? Anyway, and so that was a very nice chat. And then I went on, my brain fog machine is on, but I'll try to be coherent and respectful, which you always are, Fugnuts. As so you all are. You always are. There is so much compassion and respect, and that means you have compassion and respect for yourself. When you have compassion and respect and have joy and love for being with your cadre, well, then you have respect for yourself, and you can't do any better than having respect for yourself, because then you have a path to follow. You have a direction to sail. You have a North Star. You haven't dropped your anchor where you are just going in circles. All right. So there is this. So people leave me many, at the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. You leave me a great deal of links, which I love, and you also, that little part of my channel where you can leave things for me to go look at. And a lot of people, I can tell, leave me things because I've subscribed to lots of different things. I mean, all over the things. So, their little bell kind of rings, and I know it's automatic. And because I try to listen to everyone's point of view, even the folks who are stuck in their tribal thing, right? But within everyone's point of view, there is something interesting in there. There's something I can get, even the most, I tell people when they just going on about their opinion, I go, you're prejudiced. Like, what do you mean? I'm not prejudiced. I'm not anti-Semitic. I have friends who are black. No, that's not prejudice. Prejudice means you only believe in your point of view, right? Now, if you hated, black folk, then you're a racist. If you hate Jewish people, then you're anti-Semitic, But even that, you have to look at everything shamanically, psychosocial, culturally, forensically, anthropologically, alchemically. You have to take everything apart. You have to look at their social structure, their cultural, where grandma came from. You have to look at all the component parts. You just can't be a knee-jerk. You have to be a scholar. You can't be a scholastic and just read it out of a textbook. But so I look at everything, and there's some people who have there's a woman who is stopthecrime.net, I think. She's in California, and she's going on about, she's really down on, the whole thing about, and I was exposed to this technology in the 1970s. I used to get a journal called Aviation and Space Weekly, right, by McGraw-Hill. And I got another thing called Space, which was put out by DARPA. And I got another thing called by the IEEE. Basically, it was called AI. And these were all in the 70s. And there was a guy, I'd have to scratch my head, but there was a book written, or it wasn't a book, it was a white paper put out by, one of those guys who work for the Council on Foreign Relations, the think tanks. And they, basically put out that, the Earth, and that's where I first heard or read in a journal. The first time I ever heard of the mud flood was Billy Kluber told me that, and he was the guy who ran Automation House at the CFR, and Automation House was like the Walt Disney tour of the CFR. It was like the one thing the public could, and they were on the corner of Park Avenue and 69th Street, right across the street from Hunter College. And the only door you could walk in was this thing called Automation House. And that was Billy Kluver's little thing, looking for guys like me. Be okay with the way things are. You can hopefully anticipate for the better and move with intent. Yep. In your path, your relations could see the example. Yep, exactly right. Live with intent and walk as the example, right? And all my great mentors, that's what they did. Billy Kluver was a guy. Madam Olga Kluver, she did that too. All of the people in my life, my grandmother, my mom, when she wasn't, my mom was like me. 80% of the time she was awake, 20% she was just stay out of her way. Where my dad was kind of the other way around. 20% of the time he was kind of conscious, and 80% of the time he just had to stay out of his way. And most people are maybe awake 2% of the time, the average mud puppet, right? And then, that 2% of the time that they're somewhat awake, they're not really awake. What they are is they feel guilty about all the terrible things they've done during the other 96% of the time, right? And the mean and cruel and stupid and boorish and all of the above kind of things they did. So, and then they apologize. Oh, I'm sorry for that, which is, my second wife had this great saying, saying you're sorry is not good enough. It's a good start, but not good enough. And why she loved me is that I never ever did anything that I had to say I was sorry for. I was always conscious of what what would make her happy, because what made her happy made me happy. And that was like the simplest context of having a relationship with someone. I didn't leave the plates in the sink. I didn't throw my socks on the floor. I didn't get her rug in the bathroom wet. I didn't leave the seat up. All of those things and more. I did. I kind of, she was a great, sharpened my psychic stick, because every day I would meditate, 10 times a day. I'd go into state and go in my Akashic record, and I had like a page turned over for her. Like, I would look at the screen and say, what does she need today? And I would see it, and I'd then look at the other 28 things and see what she was going through, how she would be pissed off or upset, and I would have just the right thing. When she walked in the door, she'd have that perfect smell that would make her go, okay, I'm home. I would have that, either that cup of tea or that martini or whatever she wanted, and I would know it because I'd look in the Akashic record. And guys, that's why I keep telling you, keep going to the Akashic record, keep practicing, keep going into the state. It will behoove you, right? It will really help you. And I can see you all are doing it. Just do it more. Even the ones who are doing it a lot, do it more. Can't do too much of going into state. Compassion, ask your relations how they think it is a place in yourself and their perspective, which can be tricky to articulate. Yeah, I mean, most people, I keep telling people, yeah, so I'm a sensitive, so I can cold read people, so I can see things, but I'm not telepathic. I mean, until we all are, or unless, you're my adepts, right? You're part of my cadre. You're the chorus. You are the shock troops of love's co-creation. Well, when we go into dream time, when I go to sleep and you come to my imaginary mirror, we can be telepathic then. When we go into state and I guide you, we're telepathic then, right? But still, I need you to chat those things that you're seeing so I can then see it clearer. Keep saying, see it clearer. And I can give you further information as your griot, right? Yep. So the thing I always tell people, like John, I can tell when he's getting upset. And I say, John, what's the matter? And he won't tell me. And I say, John, you need to, tell me how you're feeling so I can navigate with you to the right place. And he's getting better at that, right? It's, because I can't read his mind, So anyway, so in my process of getting ready for tonight, after I finished this afternoon's chat around 2 o'clock-ish, I started looking at all the things that people have left for me, and there's this Camelot channel, and it's quite interesting. And she has a lot of, so people that might be called conspiracy theorists are on there, like this lady who, she's from stopthecrime.net, right? Well, all the stuff she talked about, G5 and, aerosoling the sky. See, because the word chemtrails is a kind of word they put out there under a spell that when you say that, people think you're nuts. But if you take the technical terms like aerosol and albino distraction, which, they spray this stuff out of the airplanes that you can't even see, that turns the sky into silver, no longer blue. It's just like kind of opaque, and it's a Luciferian magic trick, and it's the screen, just like the screen in the movie theater is white and kind of very, reflective. So is this stuff. So they can put up any holograph in the sky they want. Dragons, you name it. The airplanes flying into the World Trade Center, they weren't quite there, right? The airplane that crashed in Pennsylvania, there was nothing there. The airplane that crashed into the Pentagon, I've been at NTSB sites. When an airplane crashes, man, all those parts are everywhere. And in the engines, they're made out of titanium, so they don't go away, And there's, at an airplane crash, there's always luggage and body parts and seats and oxygen masks and tires but at all of these places where airplanes were supposed to have gone into, there wasn't, especially the two places, the World Trade Center, that was such a clusterfuck that it could have, okay, so maybe the airplane got lost in all that trash, but the Pentagon, there was nothing left. There should have been cowlings and parts of wings and seats and chairs and bodies. I didn't find any bodies. And the fire didn't burn long enough to incinerate everything. So, I mean, that's one of the things that really, and it was never investigated. I was a fireman. I was only at one fire. I mean, there were car crashes and heart attacks that I mostly went to, but none of this has ever been truly investigated. And a lot of people, virtually everyone who was in the trench or in lower Manhattan and wasn't wearing a spacesuit like I was, basically died of lung disease. More than 4,000 people died from 9/11, but more than half of them died years later. And they all wanted to, they died wanting a better investigation, right? There's a thing called Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. And these guys, there's like 2,000 of them who are people who are specialists with degrees up the kazoo about, how buildings fall down and how airplanes crash and the physics of everything. And they've taken it apart. And it's amazing how the media ignores them completely because they can't call them, conspiracy theorists because these guys got the degrees. Whereas the people that the 9/11, that white book that was that thick, the scientific people they went to was, the guys of standards and measures, right? And popular science. Those were the two authorities that they brought in, and they didn't talk about anything except, the airplane fuel melted the no, because they didn't even go into how the building was built. They just said, it kind of melted this, and no, you know. So right there, that's a lie. That's like, and then I see on these channels that, allegedly, W and everyone who got that little slip of paper at H's funeral are like at Gitmo being, waterboarded. Really? I don't think so. I haven't seen anything about that. I've tried to take a little look, but, I haven't gone and knocked on W's door out there in Texas to see how he's painting, So I really don't know, but all of that stuff goes to the social status motif of the question. Everyone's talking about control and social status. Everyone's so, and you look at the news and it's a joke. There is, doesn't matter. It's not, MSNB, CNN, NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, and then all of the other ones, PBS and you name it, they're all a joke because they're all prejudiced. They're all coming from their point of view. None of them is coming from the point of love's co-creation. None of them is coming from Ride's little know thyself. It's, there's, security with yourself. I know thyself is more important than being insecure with your self-perception and trying to dominate, influence, and control people. Yep. Flying blind. Be okay with the way things are. You can hopefully anticipate and do better. Yep. That's the better, just do better and better. Compassion, ask your relations how they think it is. Yep. Place yourself in their perspective. Put yourself in their shoes, which can be tricky. Yep. Due to understanding this, you tailor the angle for them. Perceptive could be relative. Dominance, whatever the angle, for what are you gaining, right? Trying to be loved. Are you secure? Can you see it? So I was talking, John constantly wants me to say that I can't have any love in my heart because my second wife died. No, sorry. I've had many, many, many relationships from that point to this point. And they were all really good. But they all, you know, for some reason or another, I wasn't ready to commit for the rest of my life with any of them, right? And then for a good 15, 16 years, I just kind of was in the living in the swimming pool of the chocolate mousse of hedonism, and that was okay. Meaning, I enjoyed every slice of chocolate cake. I enjoyed every mojito, and there were a number of women in my life at that time who were living that same. We were on the same page, and we had a great time, and we respected each other, and I learned a great deal from them, and they learned a great deal from me. And all three of those women in that 15-year period, basically, from I was their muse to the point where they didn't think they were ever going to find a man. And then they found me, and we had a great life for those. And each of them, it was like an affair to remember. Each of them lived in different parts of the country where I worked a bit, and each worked for clients I had. So I would, I met them by them first. I worked with them, and I realized how amazing they were, and how smart they were, and how beautiful and hot and fun and everything about them. But all the men in their immediate area were scared of them because they were all of those things, right? And they didn't take any guff from anybody, so they didn't want any just Tom, Dick, or Harry, so they didn't settle for anybody. I came along, and we had an amazing time. And then I had to move on, but I didn't lose contact. We'd email, we would talk, and then when I come back, I'd spend another 3 weeks. So for those 15 years, all three of them, I would come into their life once or twice a year, and we'd have a great time. And they thought that was the best kind of relationship they could have, because they got everything they wanted out of a man from me for those 3 to 6 weeks, and then they focused on their career or whatever else they were focusing on, and it all worked out great for all those years. And what was really interesting was that brought them to a place where when they did meet a person who kind of floated their boat, they were ready to commit. And what was really cute was that each of them got a hold of me and said, "Can you come? I got a new boyfriend," because when we would talk, they would tell, "Oh, I got a boyfriend now." Oh, and we'd talk about it, and because I was like one of the girls, with benefits, and so each at a different time over these 15 years found the person who I could, settle down with this guy and have kids, and we're actually talking about stuff like that, and they're not scared of me, and their career is totally different. I mean, each one of them found a guy who wasn't in their circle, wasn't a lawyer or a news person or a scientist, and but something else that kind of floated their boat, meaning they were interested in that, but that wasn't their career. Anyway, I went and visited, them, and met the person, and they introduced me as their uncle. They said, "This is my Dutch uncle," right? And one of them was black, right? So it would be hard for me to be, well, not impossible to be her Dutch uncle. But anyway, each one of those guys, because they didn't tell them about our relationship, just that I was their friend, their Dutch uncle, someone really important to their life that they want to, have to, meet before they go to that next step. Anyway, what was cute that each one of those guys realized what it was. And instead of being threatened or hostile or any of those kind of things that they could have been, they basically realized, okay, I got to get this guy's okay, and it's important to the person I really care about, and so they did that, right? And that was like when okay, this is the guy. Yep, okay, see, look what he did. He went into a a area where he had no experience and was kind of uncomfortable about doing this. I mean, worse than meeting their parents, right? Anyway, because, I could cold read him. And that's what she's, when we would meet and go out to dinner the first time, and they're not staying at her house, but I am, you know, and I would just give him a cold reading. And I wouldn't go too deep into an embarrassing motif, but just enough to show, hey, what? And he'd be like, whoa. And so, I the first thing, I just give him my card. So in that week or so that I'd be there hanging out at my friend's house, and they're not living there, and that was the next step. They were going to get a house together, right? And then probably get married. Anyway, all three of those women married those guys and had kids and are still with them. And they're all been married at least 6 to 9 years. And so when that happened, and I went to their weddings and all the above, and I'm, if I had the money and time, and some of them have actually, sent me the Western Union money order to go spend Christmas with them, with their kids. The kids pull on my beard as Santa Claus, right? And I am part of their family, and the guy is as close to me as the girl is, right? Because they're a unit, they're together, they are one, right? And they got a family, right? And so I have a lot of friends I'm that way. And that's why I had 127 godchildren, right? And a lot of them are my friends' kids. There were a lot, more than half are young people who I kind of scraped off the road when I was doing the Housing Coalition thing and made sure, they didn't kill anyone and didn't go to jail and got some education and got a trade and got a job and got into something that they loved, and then I could leave them on their own feeling that, okay, they got a shot at it. And that's something that's not really happening. I don't see too many people doing that. Ask yourself, do you need approval? What is it that need approval? From whom and to what criteria? Relative, yep. See the games, you go, yep. Altered state, when you realize it's all fake, it's mind-blowing. It really is. It was manipulated to what end? I had no idea. Good. Oh, God, the Q stuff, I can't deal with that. Yep, and that's, all that crap is again, an illusion, because it's being controlled by that same crew of the hidden hand, the Luciferian face, the powers that shouldn't be. They're all the same. They're all, no matter, even though they're like seeming to be against each other, they're all in the same boat. They're all being paid by the same folks. They're all, because it's all an illusion. The only thing that's not an illusion is love's co-creation. But, so they're doing all kinds of crazy shit, the 5G, the spraying of chemicals, you name it, and they're, California, all of those fires. So what they're planning to do, in India, part of their religion, all the little towns had their own wells, right? And it was kept clean and taken care of, and Coca-Cola and Pepsi and Descent bought all the water rights in India and poured concrete in all of those wells. All those little towns, all those people had to buy bottled water. And they are planning to do the same thing in America. They're doing it right now. And I think you've heard of, there was the New Deal, which was a joke. FDR's New Deal was a friggin' joke. And now they have the Green New Deal. And what that's going to be is the control of your drinking water, your breathable air, and the energy you have, And what they're planning to do is they already have these big platforms in space that have, gazillions of miles of photocells. And the sun never, on Earth, they have turned our skies opaque, so those photocells don't get the kind of juice they could get if the sky was blue. And they microwave the electricity to the Earth, to receptors. Now, they've been doing this now for a long time. And they put the first test facility in space in 1958. And that's when I read, when I was at the UN, I read this paper about them doing it in, 1958, And, I read it, I went to the library, at the technical library, because I would help start a NGO on alternative technologies. And they had this library at the UN with everything in it. And they had a big section of technology. And, that's kind of where the first person to tell me about the mud flood was Madame Olga Kluwer when I was 9, right? So, and then when I read about it in these scientific journals, it's like, well, the whole thing about oil, they call it, what do they call it? That it comes from dinosaurs. That is, no. Oil is the synovial fluid of the earth. It's it replaces itself, right? And the only reason they're fracking is to destroy mid-level water tables. It's like pouring the concrete in the Indian people's well, right? And water doesn't come from the sky and go into the ground and make no. It comes from the elements of hydrogen and oxygen in the earth and heated up, and it's turned into water vapors, and it kind of percolates up through the cracks in the earth from the center core and goes into these gigantic underground seas, right? And that's where we get our drinking water. And there's unlimited resource. One reason why Muammar Gaddafi was gotten rid of and Libya was destroyed is that he spent $25 billion building these deep wells and bringing up the most purest water. And there was an unlimited source. And so they had enough water to turn the deserts into gardens. And Libya was a, exporter of fruits, more than Israel did. And Israel does the same thing. It gets its water from the same way. And once Libya did it, Israel, followed suit. What was the things that NATO blew up was that water system. And what are we going to do in America? They're going to force Americans to drink their septic systems, right? And so, they're going at us tooth and nail. So we have to basically, go educate ourselves on what's going on. And the one tool that we can use that they cannot fight is with love's co-creation through art, culture. So we need to write songs about this, paint paintings about this, have theater about this. This is what the Greeks did. This is why Greeks had a republic that lasted the longest without being militaristic. And that's why they kept themselves in separate little city-states. So they wouldn't, they didn't end until they all came together and made, an empire. And then that lasted, no more than 120 years. And then Rome came. And what Rome did was it kept rebranding itself. And that's what England and the United States has done. We keep rebranding ourselves. But we're heading into this, dead end. And the only way we can get the bus to turn around and get everyone on, we have to pop the bubble of the Luciferian illusion, because all of this stuff that we're seeing right in front of our face, Donald Trump, the Congress, all of these things are distractions of Lucifer, and the 5G and all of that, distractions of Lucifer, the spraying of the sky, to keep photonic light. Remember, every time we energize ourselves going in state, we energize, we bring in the prana. Well, what they're doing is cutting us off from the prana, and they will want us to be slaves to just getting littler and littler bits, so we get stupider and stupider, and then we will all die. I mean, they want basically 90% of the useless eaters, that's all our relations, to be dead in the next 30 years. And they have got the technology to steal your body from your soul, to take your soul out, to use your soul as an ever-ready battery. I mean, everything you see in the movies is kind of what's going on, and they have to tell us before they do it. And that's why they make these satanic movies. And all these movies are the sci-fi movies, every movie pretty much is a satanic movie. Now, there's some that are real art, but they can be, you can make an amazingly great film and then have the corporate dudes slice it up like bologna and leave the good parts on the cutting room floor. And a good example was Wonder Woman. That was a truly amazing film until the corporate boys sliced it up, and put Ares in there as like one of the larger characters, So, what else you guys saying here? Let's see. Bug nuts, Sarah. Hey, buddy. You're not. You're a Cupid. Yep. Yeah, the Q stuff is pretty. It's like Laurel and Hardy. Bill and Ted's Great Adventure. Well, once you realize it's all fake, that's when you can embrace love's co-creation. And that's when you can truly step up to your free will of your consciousness. Ask yourself, do you need approval? What is it that needs approval? From whom and to what criteria? It's relative, and you see the games you get rutted into. Exactamundo. That's perfect ride. That's, if you needed one little paragraph to define what not to do with your life, that's it right there. Ask yourself, do you need approval? No, you don't. What is that? I mean, you don't need religious approval. You don't need parental approval. You don't need your friends' approval. None of the above. I mean, I've never gone for approval. I was very lucky that I had people who didn't live their life for that. They lived their life to serve, right? And, a good example is my friend Kluver, both the Kluvers, Ogle Kluver, Madame Ogle Kluver, and Billy Kluver. Both these people were amazing, right? They were avatars. Madame Kluver definitely was. Billy was. He was a sage / sensei, right? He was a good teacher. But I mean, he discovered so many. He had Nobel Prize. He brought modern art to the United States. He did all kinds of amazing, and he worked mostly for the Council on Foreign Relations, the most, satanic thing, but he wasn't satanic, or was my other teacher there, Dr. Quigley, Professor Quigley. He's another great man. You should go read Quigley. CFR, and he taught primarily at Georgetown. Go look that guy up. His two most famous books are, and they're online. And a fellow student of Quigley's was a guy I was a fellow student of, and his name was, he wrote a book called None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen. And he was like, Ride, he would write, he wrote a whole big book about, laid it all out, the illusion totally out, just like Ride does. I mean, really straight up. So I would, if you went on Amazon, you could probably find that book. It might cost something. When he published it, it cost $2.25. Now, God knows what it costs now, because they haven't been reprinting it. And Quigley's book, that's another one. I think it's on, accessible online, Wikipedia or somebody. And that book is called, The Hope and the Tragedy, And that's a pretty good book, too, because he lays it all out historically, politically, socially, spiritually, you name it, he does it. And, Joseph Campbell's book, The Myth of the Hero, is another good one. Like I keep saying, don't be a hero. You don't have to be Mr. Fix-It. So I don't get bad karma. Oh, cowardly. So they don't get, well, they do get, karma is a thing that lasts a long time. And you don't quite see it. If you see someone, like I have instantaneous karma. If I go into the supermarket and some lady gives me an extra nickel, I have to give it back. If I'm walking out the door and I'm almost halfway to my car and I notice that I got that extra nickel, I have to walk back and give it to her. Otherwise, before I get to my car, someone will run me over. I mean, I have instantaneous karma, so it keeps me on the straight and narrow. Yeah, that's it, right there. Sympathetic pity, I like that. On the ego's condition could facilitate the individual ascension, forgiveness. Yep, that's it. Now, forgiveness is a big key to the world doing better. Yep, it's getting close to Valentine's Day. Everyone's got those beautiful little hearts. I loved, on Valentine's Day in grammar school, I would go to the penny store. They had penny candy store near our school, and I'd buy 5 or 6 boxes of those candy hearts with little sayings on them, like almost like fortune cookies. And I would give, I would have a box, I would shake it, the person would put their hand out and I would shake one heart into their hand. And it was better than the 8-ball, and people, and I kept doing it for years in grammar school, from 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. I was with that same crew of people. And by the time we hit 6th grade, we were all buds. I mean, all of the whatever, nanny, nab, bad girl, bad boy, bully, that all kind of, we were all a cadre because our school was small enough. Our class, the group of people I went through grammar school through, there were about 60 of us in the same class. And by 6th grade, we had worked out all of that stupid crap. We got along really famously with each other. And we were well known for that we all got along, that we all cared about each other, that we were the negotiators, because there were kids who were up in front of us, when we were in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, there was this, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders in front of us, and we would negotiate out their things, because some of them were part of our cadre. And behind us, we truly led by example. there were a couple of really good teachers who there was a guy who was our fifth grade teacher, and he was really handsome and he was really smart, and he was the only male teacher in that school, other than the gym teacher. He was the only male teacher, and what I loved about that grammar school, and also we had when we went to seventh and eighth grade, our middle school was really interesting because it was an experimental school. And we when we went, and we were the first crew in that school, so that 60 or so kids, that's all that was in that middle school, right? And so instead of like us going to the science teacher or to the math teacher, they had this big room where we studied all of that stuff at once with each other. And there would be like 5 or 6 teachers in this big room, and there was the science section over there, the art section over there, this section over there, but we were all doing it together. And that was amazing because it was the scholarly attitude rather than the scholastic attitude. And everyone, what the best thing about those 6 or so teachers, they were the best because they led by example and they spoke to that. And they also constantly spoke to the fact that we needed to put ourselves in other people's shoes. And what was interesting about that crew, we were there were Italians, there were Jews, there were blacks, there were Hispanics, girls and boys, and they weren't all from one class, socioeconomic class. They weren't of a certain strata. And it was really amazing. Yes, the more the individual experiences, the richer their compassion becomes. Now where to direct the compassion, all relations, yep, to recognize and treat the suffering of these relations, yep. And that's kind of what we did, because even though, so we were from this very diverse crew, and some were, poor, and some were pretty rich, and everyone shared their everything with each other. It was quite, I had Matty Law and his sister Evelyn, and there was Stevie Gomez, Michael Gomez, and his sister Maria. They were all my friends, and they would come, and we were all in the same bus. Our bus was really great because it just didn't go to the rich people neighborhood or the worker neighborhood. It went to everyone's neighborhood, and we would get off the bus and go to each other's homes and hang out there till our parents came home. And our parents were like totally cool with that, all of them, right? And they liked the fact that we would go stay in one person's house so they could have their own whatever that day. And it was a magical period. It was like between 1962, 63, I was in third grade. That's when Kennedy died. 63 to, I went to high school in 67. So maybe it was earlier. Maybe 60 is when I got there, and 67 is kind of when I went to high school. Anyway, at the seminary, and so it was. That was a magical time, and it was, a school that wasn't just being paid for by the school district. It was actually an experimental. All kinds of learning techniques were tried on us. That's where I learned the Evelyn Wood speed reading course, and that I learned about geometry through art, and then I learned algebra from geometry, and Mr. Diamond and Mr. Morales, and Mr. Diamond was a black guy, and Mr. Morales was Mexican, and they were brilliant. And they taught us everything through art and math. And everyone that, and I bumped into all of my fellow students of that scene over the years in New York. And everyone, even the folks who were poor, 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 when I met them when I was in my 20s and 30s, they all had amazing careers. They all had done something way past where society said that they were going to end up. Matty Law became a lawyer, and when I started to work for Ralph Nader, I met Matty again. He was like, he had come from Columbia Law School and was working for Ralph Nader. And his sister was a doctor. And let's see. The more the individual, yep. Translate the comfort ye receive unto those relationships with or need of the comfort, patient endurance when you dip in the ebb and flow of hope. Yep. And this is all the teachings of love's co-creation, right? So here we are at 1 hour, 1 minute, and 1 second. And I think we should go into state and go into that place that Inc. is talking about. The more the individual and Ride talks about. So you know where we're going to go? We're going to go to that place that the soul goes when you go to limbo. And what we're going to do is we're going to experience we're going to go into our Akashic record, and we're going to turn to a place, instead of just emptying our anger and our hate to a blank page, we're going to do that, but we're going to then turn to another page, and we're going to go back into a past life where we died, our last past life. We're going to go to the birth. Now, where we're going to go to is we're going to go 2 past lives back to around the 1790s. We're going to experience the time when, and this is when Planet X, Nibiru, came through. Every 26,000 years, it kind of comes through its elliptical orbit and comes near us, plows through our solar system and messes things up. Well, in 1790, between 1790 and 1840 is when Nibiru kind of plowed through the center core of our solar system and messed things up. And it doesn't happen in like just, 20 seconds or 1 day. No. Things start approaching and you can see it and, ooh, look at that. And so you really get to the 411 is what's going on. There's a lot of time for you to come to Jesus. So we're gonna go first into the Akashic record, empty out our anger, close the book, and then open up to a blank page where we're going to look at 2 past lives. And we're going to go all the way back to around 1730 and see where you pop out, whether you're middle age or just being born or whatever it is, and then kind of live through the 1790s into the early 19th century, the 18, 10, 20, 30, 40, and see how the planet got totally messed up, right, physically. And you're going to experience being born and dying 2 different times, right? And especially you're going to experience dying and having the life viewing, right? And you're going to see that whole context of what Ride has been talking about, along with the rest of you, right? So everyone find themselves in a nice, comfortable position. I'm going to put my phone down for a moment. I'm going to turn off the lights. I'm going to stretch and get some water. Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm going to count from 1 to 3, and as I do, you're going to go deeper and deeper into a state of relaxation. See clearly. And 1. Your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath, going deeper and deeper into a state of relaxation. The conscious mind is where that little squirrel in the cage of your Rolodex of your mind is just constantly going, what I gotta do, what I gotta, what? And with your breath, breathing in 20% and breathing out that 30%. That occupies your conscious mind. That squirrel will go to sleep, will go to relax. And since you're in a safe and secure place in your avatar, you can leave it and leave it on remote control. And 1, you're in a deep, 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 deep state of relaxation, going deeper and deeper. See it clearly. Breathing in that 20%, filling your lungs, more, more, more. And by doing that, you have to force your conscious mind to focus on that breath, because the only way you can breathe in that 20% and breathe out that 30% is by focusing your conscious mind on your breath. See it clearly. Ooh, you feel so relaxed. And you let it all go. See it clearly. And as you're breathing in that prana in through your nose, 20% more, You're filling your lungs up. And you can only breathe that 20% more by lifting your diaphragm and expanding your lungs and filling it deeper and deeper with that prana. That's the life force. The life force. The life force of the universe. The prana is what animates your avatar. See it clearly. And as your lungs are filling up with that prana, your blood gets coursing through your lungs, and it takes that prana through the iron rich blood, and it swirls it, swirls it, swirls it, swirls it, swirls it, swirls it through your veins. See it clearly. It's not going blub, blub, blub. It's swirling. And then within that swirl, going counterclockwise, is another swirl. And in that swirl, there's another swirl going clockwise. And what is that doing? It is creating a flow of photonic energy, of scalar current. And you are grounding it out into Mother Earth through your chi. So Father Sky brings you the prana, and Mother Earth grounds it out through your chi. So, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, as it was in the beginning, is now, ever shall be, world without amen. See it clearly. See it clearly. And you see that photonic rich prana going all through your body, being drawn through the blood, through all your veins and arteries and capillaries, and bringing this photonic light to every cell of your body. See it clearly. And see your mitochondria just kind of crackling like lightning. See it clearly. See it clearly. See it clearly. And now you take that photonic light and you focus it through your imaginary mirror, and you see yourself illuminated, and you take that light and shine it into your subconscious mind. It's not the scary place. It is simply the library of your life's experiences, all of your existence, all of your consciousness. See it clearly. And you're walking into your library, and in front of you is your fireplace, and in front of that are these nice comfortable leather chairs for visitors, and in front of that is your reading table, and photonic light is coming from above. There are no shadows. Behind the reading table is your reading chair, and you sit down in your chair, and your library to your left brings you your Akashic record, and your animal totem to the left of your librarian is there to tell you a story. It is your animal griot guide because you can get any information. You may not understand what it is. It may be a little confusing, and that's what your animal totem's there for. And to the left of your animal totem is your guardian angel, always to protect you, always to have your back. See that clearly. And two, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation. Your avatar is totally asleep. That little squirrel is snoring away, and your body is consciously breathing in that prana and energizing your whole body. And you're breathing out 30% more, thus you're expelling more waste. You're cleansing your body through your breath. See it clearly, know, and remember how to do this all day long. The more you can do this, breathe 20% in, 30% out, the more you will be conscious in every day, in every way, as it should be. See it clearly. Taking the piece of the earth and making it stronger through love's co-creation. See it clearly. And so you open up the book and you find two blank pages. You take your right hand and you place it on the right page, and you take your left hand and you place it on the left page, and you lean into your Akashic record, and you eliminate, you evacuate all the anger, all the fear, all the hate, all the self-loathing, all the greed, all the anxiousness and animosity, all of it, all the negative feelings you put into your Akashic record, and you close the book. Boom. And at your leisure, you will go into state and you will see and understand all of your anger. So you go, oh, wow, that's not so much. I don't need to get mad at that. That's nothing. Oh, if I only put myself in that guy's shoes, I can understand that. Okay, I see it now. Oh, that's what this means, right? And you can do the same thing with your dreams, right? Before you go to sleep and after you wake up, if you put all the things you're thinking about in your Akashic record and go back and look at it, by putting in it makes it a lot easier to find. But for now, I want you to open up your Akashic record to a blank page, and up comes the main screen with the 28 little screens around it. And I want you to take your hand and take it along the side of the gold leaf of that book. And I want you to see yourself being born into the early to the mid part of the 18th century. See it clearly. You see your parents, and you see that sperm cell coming together with that egg, and that's forming you in your mother's uterus. You see yourself the first few weeks a female, and then the blast of hormones comes, and you're either X or a Y, and you see yourself gestating in your mother's womb as an embryo, and you become a baby, and you are born into that family. And I want you to see that family. I want you to see yourself being born. I want you to see yourself seeing your mother for the first time, and then your father, and then you're being brought home, and you're part of that family, and see that family. And I'm going to leave you alone quietly for a while so you can see that life. See it clearly. And two, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation. Your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. You've illuminated yourself and taken yourself into your Akashic record. You're sitting at your reading table. Your librarian has brought your Akashic record to you. You have evacuated all your anger and fear and hate, and you've closed the book onto that and lightened yourself and illuminated yourself with photonic light, not the not the opaque grayness of the Luciferian illusion. No. But you're seeing this life as an infant, and you see when you were in utero the kind of tendrils of the life that you had just came from, and why karmically you came into this life of the 18th century, mid 18th century, and see where you're born and what kind of family you're in and what you are. You're a city person, a rural person, a farm person, or you're a child of a person who is a baker or a carpenter or whatever trade or situation you were in, see it clearly. Whether your family was well-to-do and you were landed and gentry, whether you were a slave, whether you were, of the, commerce class. See where you were. See what kind of education you were having, whether it was just your mother having you read the Bible, or were you going to school, or did you have teachers? See what your life was then. And then things start happening in the sky. There are comets, and there are things that aren't normal to the night sky that are coming in. And then weather is changing. And then the earth has some very severe changes. See them. The sky gets darker and darker and stays dark for days, weeks, months on end. It gets cold. Things don't grow in the fields like they should. The trees don't bear fruit. The animals get scarce. Things get very scary because no one can tell you what's really going on. And then parts of the country start having catastrophes, floods and storms and volcanoes and earthquakes and what's going on. And no one can give you any certainty, anything. And then lots of people are dying. And your families, you may have a good portion of your family die. You may die yourself. And if you die in this thing they call the mud flood, remember it clearly. And if you live longer and you die of a cause that came after the mud flood, see it clearly. If you die a little later from being of older age and your health never got better from after that experience of the mud flood, see what kind of trauma that had been heaped upon your life, or the guilt on not having the trauma of the people around you. See how that affected all of your relations. See how you connected to that, how you identified with it. See how you were a empathetic or sociopathic. And then you die. And when you die, and then you die, and then you die. And it's like a candle burning itself out to the end where the wick just goes. And you find yourself on a mezzanine, and you are surrounded by people, and you're in the center of the circle. And a bright light comes and shines upon you, and then shines upon the person in front of you. And that person is telling you what you did to it, what time you hurt it, you beat it up, you were the slave owner, or you were the jilted lover, or you were the doctor or the businessman or the preacher who cheated, lied, and stealed and made your life worse because of it. You were the parent who treated your child poorly. You were the bully. You were the boyfriend, the girlfriend who jilted this person. And you're going to go around a circle. And there are going to be people who will tell you what good you did for them and what bad you did for them. And as the circle, as it goes around, how you can empathize with that person who's telling you that story. They are your own personal griot of your life, not a metaphor, but your life, the action you did to that person, good, bad, indifferent. And I'm going to be quiet, and you are going to experience that life reveal and see what you get out of it. And 3, you are sitting in a big field of daffodils on a rock. And you're thinking about what has just transpired in your past life, the one that you just died, and the life reveal of that life, and what it all means, and why you went through that, and what did you learn? What did you get out of it? What was the reason for that life? See it clearly. And 3, you're going into a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation, deeper and deeper. You're sitting on that rock surrounded by an infinite number of daffodils. The yellowness goes on into infinity. And as the sky just above the daffodils, it's yellow. It goes up, it's yellow, it's yellow, it's yellow. And it's kind of red and green and blue, 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 and then black. See it clearly. See what that transition does for you. What kind of feeling you have. What did you get from that life? What did you learn? You know? And while you're still sitting on that rock surrounded by yellow daffodils, looking at the rainbow colors of the sky, you start to think, how long have I been here? Has it just been a second? Or a minute? Or a day? A week? A year? A century? How long has it been? What's going on? How come I can only think about this experience that just took moments? I'm spending centuries on this, decades. I don't really know. There is no time. There's no experience of a linear time. There is no minutes, no seconds, no hours, no days. But I can't stop thinking about specifically what that life review meant to me. What can I learn? What can I bring forth that will manifest good? And what can I do to do no harm? What lessons can I learn so I won't do any harm? And what feeling can I feel other than the pain of remorse? What can I do to make up for this, or make it right, or make it good, and make it have some kind of value, you know? So I don't feel so disappointed. How can I move forward? How can I reach my consciousness's free will? The major thing I've gotten from this is the disappointment of being stuck. And the things that I did good for people, most of them were trying to relive an experience of a shared goodness, but mostly for me to feel that feeling of goodness. What does that mean? And how can I change? And what's the true value of this? And how can this experience manifest a better outcome for everyone, all my relations? I see sitting on this rock surrounded by this beauty where I can't go anywhere. The real deal is that I share the bounty of beauty, that I manifest happiness for others, which will make me happy. And that's what I'm going to do. That's the karma I'm going to bring. That's the dharma I'm going to work out in my next life. And oh, wait a minute. Something's going on. You feel that mitochondria, that lightning bolt, that prana kind of all around you. All of the rock is a jitter with that mitochondric earthquake, and the flowers are all kind of, even though they're yellow daffodils, they're all kinds of colors, magical electric colors. And then all of a sudden, I feel two things of me coming together, making one. And I'm now in darkness. And I feel things growing. I feel cells dividing. I'm becoming a human being. And then I pop out into the 19th century, before the Civil War. See yourself being born. See yourself seeing your mother for the first time, your father, the clan that you're part of, the community that you're in, how everyone is viewing you. And you remember your last life and why you felt good and bad about it, and how you wanted in this life to manifest the best you can, to work through the issues you had before and not get stuck in them. And to see what happened with the mud flood. What was that about? It killed half of the population on Earth and destroyed great cultural fortitude that our species had. And it seems that somehow we got thrown back in a way that's, unexplainable. See it clearly. See your connection of your last life and this life. And see the path you're going to be moving into the present life that you have now. And what those two lives mean to your experience, right? And you're a child. See where you are. See if you're in the north or you're in the south. See if you're wealthy, if you're a slave. See if you're an Irish immigrant or any other immigrant. See how you're treated. See whether you're living in a fine house or in a slum or in slave quarters. See how it is. And see how you sense that everything you hear about what's going on isn't true. It's an illusion. The causes of the Civil War have nothing to do with slavery, because everyone's a slave. You, as a child, you realize that everyone's a slave. from the richest person to the poorest, from the minister to the banker. Everyone is a slave to that box that they put themselves in. See it clearly. And see yourself moving on to adolescency. See yourself, and then the war breaks out, and you see the horrors of the war, whether you're in Boston or whether you're in Atlanta, whether you're on the coast or inland. You see the hardships that everyone has to suffer. You see Lincoln as a madman, a manic depressant. He, puts newspaper people, politicians, anyone who disagrees with him in jail. You see the North shelling New York City, killing 250,000 people because the Irish rebel against the draft. See it clearly. See that nothing makes sense the way it is explained to you. That you remember your past life in the 1700s, 1800s, 17, mid 17 to 1810, and all of you were born and died in that period, and you all experienced the mud flood. But here, in the time of the Civil War, no one talks about the mud flood, even though it wiped out more than half of the people in North America. It wiped out more than 3/4 of the Native American people. See it clearly. How the Mississippi, the ocean went all the way up the Mississippi north and changed all of the rivers, made them wider, made them smaller, got rid of some, made others. See how all of this happened, and no one is talking about it a scant 60 years later. They're talking about the Civil War. That's part of what the war is. The war is to break America, to make it ready to be reestablished by the Europeans. The drift of the unseen hand that has always been there since Christopher Columbus, but is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. The powers that shouldn't be are getting stronger and stronger. And then the Civil War is over. And then everything goes back to the way it was. Nothing really has changed. Lincoln dies. Other politicians who wanted to make a difference die. The same old selfish, cruel monster of uncontrollable consumption takes over, and everyone goes to fit into the social strata. They go doggy dog. And that is not what humans are, and you knew that. And yet, more than half of you died in the Civil War. And then the rest of you died before the 1890s. And you saw a great new empire being built, the industrial age, the miracles of Nikola Tesla and all the other great scientists redefining the truth. But before you all die, you see that great glimmer of hope of that new age that would serve everyone is destroyed by the First World War. And all of you, the cadre who are in this journey of this going into state, you all die between 1870 and 1918. See it clearly. And again, see how all of these things that occur aren't just natural occurrences of humanity's stupidity or the throw the dice of nature. No, all of these catastrophes have been brought on to all of your relations through the will and fear and anger and hate and self-loathing of the powers that shouldn't be in the hidden hand. See it clearly. And then you were born again into the 20th century, sometime just after World War II up until the 1980s. See it clearly. And right now, why you have come to this life at this time, did you find Sensei Al Bob at Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob? Why did you become the cadre? Why did you join the cadre? You're not a subscriber, you're the cadre because you felt all of these lives and that you just missed out on getting to that place where you could be at home, at whole, as one with all of your relations. And this is the opportunity. This is the open window. This is why you're here. This is why you come almost every night. This is why you look at all of the past shows. It is opening your eyes. You're becoming awake. You're being conscious. You're taking your free will and actually co-creating with love. See this clearly. And 3, you're right here, right now, in your avatar. And I'm going to count you back, and then we can chat about what you've seen. I want to hear from all of you. And 3, you feel yourself going back into your avatar, you feel relaxed, rejuvenated, and you have a new perspective. And it's in your Akashic record. It's right there in front of you. You got 28 little screens around the big screen that's giving you the full story. And from today is Wednesday, and from today, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I want you to go back into your Akashic record and relive this experience. It's in your Akashic record. I want you to be conscious when you're doing this. I want you to see every atom of these 3 lives that you've had and how they're connected karmically, dharmically, and what it means for you to be part of the cadre, what it means to be part of the course, to speak, to sing on the chat, and what it means for you to be that disciplined, to be the shock troop of love's co-creation. See it clearly. And 2, you're back in your Akash, you're back in your avatar, and you're also aware of being in your library. You can be in both. You can see both. And this is, the more you can be in both of those places, 1 foot in your Akashic record and 1 foot in your conscious life, expressing your free will, not being stuck in any pattern, neuroses, psychoses. See it clearly. This is your opportunity to go through that open window and be with love's co-creation, with your cadre. See it clearly. All of your relations, when all of our relations can be freed to be awake and to have the conscious of their free will, the illusion of Lucifer's material business plan of hell, the bubble will pop. See that clearly. And 1, your eyes are open, you're breathing, you feel comfortable, you feel relaxed, and it's time to chat. Let's hear what you got to say. So Ride says, translate the comfort ye received unto those relations which are in need of the comfort, patience, endurance. When you dip in the ebb and flow of hope, see it clearly. That's what this journey is, the ebb and flow of hope. So let's hear from you all. There's 6 of you there. And it's 1 hour, 45 minutes, and 45 seconds right now. So let's hear from you all. You're back in your avatar. You're awake. And you've got some pretty interesting experiences. So let's hear about them. What did you see in your past lives? Come on, let's hear it. And if you want to discuss any of this on the old the dude awake 42 at Gmail, go ahead, get a hold of me. I try my best to respond. I respond to everyone, and I try my best to respond as quickly as possible. So I am always at your service, your sensei Al Bob, your griot. Ugh. Are you there? Or did I talk all that talk for nothing? I don't remember seeing anything saying that I was buffering or that I had to reestablish. But unless I hear you guys, I'm gonna leave. Again, this takes a lot out of me, and there you go. See yourself through the eyes of your 9 generations. Yep, they're there for you. Yep, support the circle around you. Yep, hardships of the chain you're a part. Yep. Thanks, Sensei. I see a farm almost the same, but 2 degrees removed. I'm a male farmer, and I'm plain. I fear the co-creation of something about to hurt, attack right out front of my farm. House is at 30. Okay, what else? Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Ride. Remember, everyone, this is all in your Akashic record. You just keep going back, and you got those 28 little screens that'll give you every angle, and you've got your animal totem, and this is a good little exercise to use your animal totem to give you stories on what it is, and have your librarian bring you more books to give you more information, and your guardian angel always to have your back. So when you see these things, just like you said, Jane, you fear the co-creator, and with your angels' protection on your back. And you can also always take your guides into your lodge through the shortcut. And then you have four guides. You got the 3 and your lodge guide. And you also have your garden. So these are tools. You need to start exercising them more and more yourself, right? So anyone else have a vision, an insight? And remember, everything you say is on one level, exactly what you're saying. Like Ride says, see yourself through the eyes of your 9 generations. They are there for you, support the circle around you, the hardships of the chain you're a part of. There is a cross to bear, a divine line. Exactly. And once you realize this, it's not a big chore. It's part of life. It's like, oh, I don't want to do that. It's too tough. Oh, no. you go and do it because it's not too. It's difficult for a reason. It allows you to appreciate. If things were easy, you'd just be a couch potato. Difficulty gives you, an appreciation. Okay, I went through that. Like, all the times I've died, and all the times I've come back, and all the times I had to heal myself, have given me the appreciation of the seconds, the minutes, the moments, the people, the experiences I have. I don't try to, I want to have the same thing over and over again. I want it to be vanilla ice cream with chocolate sauce and juice. No. Yeah. Okay, 1 hour, 50 minutes, and 50 seconds. So anybody else got something to say here? There's 6 of you. Okay, buddy. I fell asleep and dreamed of a bus ride. I only had one stop, a looper time. Okay. So, when I lived in the ashram and we would do group meditations, I, would go straight sawing wood. And all those people who were trying so hard to meditate would get mad at me and go, Sensei, he's making so much noise. I'll go, shut him up, blah, blah, blah. And Sensei would say, no, Al is in deep meditation. So, buddy, you are in deep meditation. The divine line, yep. The golden thread, yep. There was a tent and hope, love, the fruits of your spirit. Exactly. Shouldn't feel guilty or upset. And that's why you're placed on the big rock with all those yellow daffodils. It gives you time to, prepare yourself. Just like I do every time I go and do a live chat with you guys. I prepare myself. Only 1860 Civil War soldier. I lost a leg, was only 18. I had a dark hair, I had an Irish accent. I was a smell of blood and fire. Yeah, that's kind of what, when they chopped your leg off, that's what they did. They cauterized it. And to go back in your Akashic record and see this on the big screen and have the other 28 screens around giving you the different angles, you will see why you lost that leg. You would see the things you need to learn by losing that leg. The diabetes, neuropathy, chakra legs, and diabetic blindness that I have are all blessings and lessons, and that I've been able to, through meditation, prayer, and service, heal myself in ways that my doctors can't explain, As my endocrinologist keeps telling me, I'm the most healthy dead guy he knows. So that's why your Akashic record is so important. You can go back and get some real insight on all of this, because your whole life, there is no linear. You're experiencing all of these lives all at once. Bang, And they all mean something together, not separately. Now, you have to take the separate component parts and forensically look at them, because, we are the sum of our parts. But it's the whole totality of it that gives the meaning. So that's why the Akashic Record is an amazing tool. And that you have so many accesses to so many doorways, so many worlds, 2 different trees of knowledge, 2 different links of the collective lake of consciousness. So did any of you see the mud flood or have any collective consciousness of that experience of the planet having a real, half the population of the planet dying in a 10, 15-year period, and things looking really bad. And then the sky clears, and that's when you really get a sense of what hope is. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that's what these natural occurrences are, for us to get a perspective and appreciation. And then when we see, you know, members of the hidden hand and the powers that shouldn't be take advantage of these situations so they can get power and control, which is useless, meaningless, very limited. You know, these guys have for 100 years been planning and scrimping and manipulating the human race into a place where they think they can rule. And right now they're seeing it like just slip out of their fingers. And they don't even have, you know, there isn't the Q-ohm state and all of that crap. They're all the same guys. But it's just slipping away from them. And what, you know, and it's not even an enemy. It's us, the cadre, you know, the shock troops of love's co-creation. We're not threatening them on any of their counts. You know, you know, why did Jesus said, you know, give Caesar what's Caesar's and unto, you know, love's co-creation, you know, because whatever Caesar has in Caesar's little mitt is irrelevant. It's bullpucky. Doesn't mean anything. It's a, you know, it's an illusion. The only truth is love's co-creation. And that's what we're here to, you know, that's why you guys come to Sensei El Bob. That's why you come to Dreamy Dreamland, because this is a tool that's inside you. It's not like you have to buy it online or get it from Amazon or go down to Walmart's. This is inside you. And I am assisting you to keep the eye on the ball. Look over you. And the symptomatic pity. Yep. They're not angry. You know, they're not, you know, it's pity. Of Coach Wim's always there trying to, golden thread to help you. Use your circle by expressing the endurance of your spirit. Yep. And the use of your free will. You do not have to you don't have to be forced to do anything. I had to wake up and get off. I've been working out building my resonant air transformer. Yeah, okay. Again, you know, the bus it's got this kind of drone to keep you in a state of just being unconscious, right? So that's what you're doing, buddy. You are fighting to wake up. Yep, right there. I had to wake up, get off of the drone. I've been working, building my resident, and that is, you know, a tool, another, you know, a tool within the construct of the physical illusion. You have the tool of love's co-creation, and you can use that to build the resonant air transformer, right? And you're getting it, you know? And so the bus was a dream of the illusion that enabled you to get off the bus of the illusion. Always here for you, buddy. Keep up the good work, my friend. All of you are doing great. All doing great. I'm so proud of you. Keep on keeping on, you know, and it's fun, you know. The more you do it, the more fun it is, the more real it is. Anyone else got anything to say? Actually, you know, we have been very blessed to be. Every time we have a storm or something really happens, we have dodged the bullet every time. Now, Wednesday, I have to go to court, and I hope there's supposed to be another storm Tuesday night. I hope we can dodge that one. But I mean, today was in the 50s. Other place, and the wind early in the morning was pretty blowy, but by 11 it calmed down. But my friends in Tennessee, they were like, holding on by their fingertips, and it was like the wind chill was ridiculous, and it was 50 here. Tomorrow's supposed to be in the 50 and 60. It's supposed to rain this weekend, and I just hope, like I said, we don't get ice or snow on Tuesday. And, you know, I hope I can just go down to the old court and talk to the judge and get a nice dismissal. That's what I would like best. But anyway, I'll keep visualizing that one. All you guys, visualize me getting a nice, easy dismissal. Because it was just, I was caught in a speed trap. Yeah, I know. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, speeding ticket. I was caught in a speed. And I told you, I went unconscious, and one of the habitual things I do, I drive. I take the same roads, the same back roads, I stay away from lights. I hate lights. And I passed the road I was supposed to turn on, and I went down this other road, and I could have stayed on that and got to where I was going, but I made a U-turn and went down that road, and I got a freaking ticket. I mean, if I had just kept, the universe did want me to get a ticket. It had me go by that place I normally always turn on, but I turned around and got a frick. So that was the lesson. Listen, buddy, listen to the higher consciousness. Shut up. And not buddy, but buddy me. I'm the buddy. Listen, boy, just listen to what we're trying to tell you. Be awake. Wake up that extra 20% and you won't get a speeding ticket. And then, I went down to the courthouse and talked to the clerk and and that's when I met the head clerk and the head judge, and I had a great time with them. And so just getting that ticket was well worth it to meet these two people. Now, if those are the guys who are sitting in the courtroom when that comes about, probably be even better. But pretty much, I just keep visualizing being dismissed. So anyway, that's where I'm at. And how about you guys? What more do you have to say about your little experience? And I'm like I said, I'm awake, conscious, 80% of the time, and 20% somewhat unconscious. And one of the things I can be, I'm still a New Yorker driver. A little too fast, a little too this, a little too that. I zip in and out of things, and I should not do that. And that's what. So I haven't had any car crashes or things like that. Just these little subtle hints of, okay, you're gonna have to slow down because we're gonna not waste your time, but use your time somewhere over sideways to do all this other kind of paper stuff. And okay, that's what it is. Okay. Anyway, so that's next Wednesday. Yeah, I know, but the thing I can do, I can take the driver's ed course, you know, and then the points don't go on my ticket and my insurance doesn't go up. So, but I'm gonna see if I can get it dismissed. You're right. I mean, one of the things I learned working for the Desperate Lawyers and working for Ralph Nader is that there is no justice. Meaning, I remember when I went to work for Ralph Nader in the late 60s, I worked for NYPIRG, New York Public Interest Research Group. And he started all these PIRGs, but that was the first one. And I worked on the water issues. And he sent, so he had this group of really brilliant lawyer guys and gals. And he broke us up into teams. And then, because he had amazing connections, he sent our team off to Columbia Law School, and we went to this lecture. And this guy was a state Supreme Court judge. And so we're in there, and it's about maybe 50 people. It's a lecture hall. And he walks in, and he's got an assistant. And the assistant, he writes this word, justice, on the board, right? And so we all look at the word justice, and we all scribble it down in our little notebooks. And then this Supreme Court judge says, now erase that. And he erases it. And he, now it's not on the board. He goes, I never want to hear anyone in this course, if you say that word, what about justice? You fail immediately. I never want to hear anyone say the word justice. And then he gives a nod to his assistant, and the assistant draws this gigantic dollar sign on the blackboard. And he goes, that is what law in the United States is about, because the United States is not a government ruled by laws. It is a corporation ruled by money and power. And if you think it's anything different, you're going to come out on the wrong end every time. And that's what it's about. So you're right, Jane. They give you those speeding tickets just to make money. And I know this. Individuality is a gift. Allow other individuals' dominance, own experience, steer their lives, all the while reflecting compassion. Light the path and hopefully anticipate for love's grace. Some hot cinnamon ginger tea. Well, make a cup for me, buddy. Thank you, Bob and Cadre. Much love. So say we all. So say we all. Oh, it's now 2 hours, 8 minutes, and 8 seconds. We'll chat a little bit more as the cadre dwindles, and then I think around 2:12 might be a good time to say goodnight. Anyone else have anything? So let's look at individuality is a gift. Yep. Allow other individuals dominance, own experience, steer their lives. Yep. All the while reflecting compassion, light the path, and hopefully anticipate for love's grace. Well, the word anticipate, I like the word, because anticipation is one of the more interesting parts of the human experience, because it builds up. But the real secret is to have anticipation without expectation, right? And let's see, allow other individuals dominance, own experience, steer their lives. Let their own individual experience steer their lives. Yes, exactly. We don't need to dominate anybody else's life. That's for sure. All the while reflecting compassion, light the path, and hopefully anticipate. Light the path with hope. Anticipate for love's grace. Yep. Ooh, 2:10:10. That's a good time too. Anyone else have anything to say? I think around 2 hours, 12 minutes, and 12 seconds. I will say goodnight. Well, again, remember, everyone, go in state, go use your Akashic record and find that interesting place. Anyone else have anything to say, you five out there? Well, good night, you all. I love you all. Have a good dream time. I'm going to go to sleep relatively soon. I'll see you soon. Tomorrow's supposed to be another nice day, which I will enjoy. Okay. Sweet dreams. Sweet, sweet dreams. Good night, y'all. Good night. Good night. Dreamy, dreamy dreams tonight. Good night. Good night. Love you guys. Love you all. Da, 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 da. Hey there, Dragon. Have you been here the whole time? I'm going to sign off soon. It was a good chat. It was a good going into state. Just got here. Well, Dragon, I'm going to sign off, but you should go back and watch this one because we looked at the last 200 years in our Akashic records and experienced our death twice, which gave us an interesting perspective on things that are going on now. Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow, and I'm not, probably going to do a daytime one because I'm going to go have some fun with a friend, but I'll definitely be here tomorrow evening at 7 p.m.